Earlier on in the previous lecture, we learned how to pass props from a parent component to a child component. And now the question is it possible to pass props from child component to a parent component? And the answer is no. You cannot directly pass props from child to a parent component. But you can, however, pass a reference to a function as props to the child component. Sounds tricky, right? Let's quickly practicalize it so that you can understand it well enough. Open up the Explorer. Right within the component, we are going to create a new component, parent.js. And again, right within the component, we also have to create another component, child.js. Beautiful. Close down the Explorer. And then I have to also close down the demo and the app.js. So right within the parent component, I'm going to use the shortcut ROFC to generate React.js functional component. And again, if the shortcut is not working at your end, it is because you have not installed the snippet. To install the snippet, head on to the extensions. Click to open. So right here, we are going to search for ES7 React/Redux/GraphQL React-native snippet. And here is it. Click to open. And at my end, I have it installed already. And that is why you see over here the uninstall button. So at your own end, you just have to click the install button and then you will have it installed. Close it down. And as well, close down the extensions. And now the shortcut is going to work for you. Alright, let's continue. So right within the div, we are going to have a h1 tag. And here I'm going to do, this is parent component. Let's head on to the child.js. Here is it. And as well, we have to generate the React.js functional component. RFC and boom. Beautiful. Having done this, let's define a function right in the parent component and then pass that function as props into the child component. Parent component, and let's do it right here. Alright, so I'm going to do function greet parent. So right within this function, we are going to have a let dialog. And right here, we want to display welcome parent. So the next in line is to pass this function as props down into the child component. Let me show you quickly. So at the top, we have to import child from ./child component. So let's quickly render the child component. Child, close it up with the soft closing tag. Beautiful. Having done this, we can now proceed to pass the function as props down into the child component. To do that, we have to specify the attribute and then assign it to a value. But this time, the value is going to be this function. Highlight and then copy. Come here, paste. So this is the attribute and here is the value. And all of these is called props. Understood? Beautiful. So when you do this, we have succeeded in passing this function as props down into the child component. So having done this, we have to render the parent component right in the app.js. Command P to pop up the set box at the top. And then I'm going to search for app.js. And here is it. So we just have to place a comment on all of these tabs. Highlight, hold down the command key, hit the /. So at the top, we have to import parent component from component slash parent. Right below, we have to render parent. Close it up with the self-closing tag. Save. Go back to the parent component. So now we have succeeded in passing props into the child component. The next in line is to receive it right in the child component. Child. And to do that, we just have to take in props as an argument. And then when you console log props on the browser, Alt Command I to open up the console. And we also have to open up the props object. And here is the attribute greet with the function greetParent as its value. Go back. So the purpose of this lecture is to call the function that we defined in the parent component right here within the child component. So on click of a button in the child component, we want to be able to call this function. Come back to the child. Let's have a button right here. And right here, we have to specify the on click. So on click of the button, we want to be able to call the function greetParent. And of course, you know that the function greetParent is already stored in the props object. So now I'm going to do props.greet. So when you do this, save on the browser. This is the parent component, and here is the child component. So on click of this button, we want to invoke the function that was defined in the parent component. Click. Can you see that? Welcome parent. To recap, we defined the function here in the parent component. And after that, we then pass the function as props down into the child component. So whenever we do props.greet, it is going to retrieve the value that is passed into the attribute, which in this case, the function greetParent. And finally, we triggered the button by specifying the onClick. So on click of this button, this function right here will get fire up. So what exactly is the benefit of doing this? Alright, so the advantage of doing this is that it helps to improve performance. So when building a real-world application, chances are you may run into a situation where you want to make use of a function in different components. Alright, so let me show you quickly. Open up the Explorer and then right within the component, right click, new file. And I'm going to call this user.js. Close down the Explorer. Generate the React.js functional component. So right within this component, we also want to make use of this same function. Okay? So what I'm going to do right now is to first import the user component from ./user. We have to render it over here. Close it up with the self-closing tag. I'm going to specify the attribute greet and then assign it a value, which in this case, the function greetParent. Head on to the users component and then we have to receive the props. So right now, I just have to go back to the child and copy this button. Come here, paste. Let's check it out on the browser. Here is the button from the child component, and here is the button from the user component. So when we click the button in the user component, can you see? We are calling the same function that is defined in the parent component. And also, when we click the child component, it works exactly the same. So if you are building application and you want to make use of the same function in different components, the best option is to pass that function as props into the component that needs it. It's as simple as that. Let's go back to the child. Another important point that I want you to take note of is how to pass parameter when calling a function defined in the parent component from the child component. So this is extremely important. As a matter of fact, it appears mostly as an interview question. So now let's pay attention on how to do that. Alright, so the simplest way to pass parameter from the child to the parent component is by implementing the arrow function syntax. We are going to have an arrow function, come here, specify it like this. So with this, we will be able to pass any number of parameter to the greet function. Let me show you quickly. So right here, within this function, we are going to take in string. So right here, I'm going to do I am child. Okay, so we want to pass this as parameter down into the greet parent function. Come here. We have to incorporate it right within the greet parent function. So here I'm going to do child. And now we are going to use the string interpolation. Change it to a backtick and a backtick. We are going to take in curly brackets. So I'm going to do child. Right here, I'm just going to place a comment on these. So having done this, let's check out the result on the browser. Click on the button. You are going to see welcome parent, I am child. And I want you to recall that this was passed as parameter from the child component down into the greet parent function. And the greet parent function is defined in the parent component. So this exactly is how to pass parameter when calling a function defined in the parent component from the child component. And please, I want you to take note of that because it appears mostly as an interview question. This is all for now. See you in the next lecture. Stay focused and always take care.